How's the move to Ringwood gone, John and Michael?
Yeah, adjusted pretty well, Mick. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to get out here yet, but
No.
A bit like not unlike the VACC building, a nice new building. So as you would have been to Kew a few times and seen the state of that place. So in terms of a building, major upgrade. So it is really nice facility.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Plenty of parking for visitors.
No, unfortunately. But rest assured, Mick, if you come out, we'll organise some parking for you.
Thank you, mate. I do have to get there. I mean, I do.
Yeah, not a whole lot of parking for staff as well, but in and around the area is not too difficult, I guess. But they are generally time parking or paid parking. Yeah. But being around the suburbs, they're not expensive, as compared to the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I paid parking the other day for about 3 hours in the city, and this is personally, and I didn't look, and it cost me $60-something.
Yeah,
I nearly died.
Can be frighteningly expensive in the city. Yeah.
Brendan Blakeman, VACC Area Manager. Welcome, Brendan. And Tony Sitch, former Chairman of the Victorian Automobile Dealers Association. Welcome. Have you got many attending from the department apart from you guys? Is Faye? I see there's Benka.
Yeah, some of my team are attending, Mick. I was just talking to them before, so they're in a meeting room here, and they're as well.
Yeah, some of my team members might attend, but they're basically out today. In fact, they're supporting Victoria Police in their operations out at Flemington.
Okay.
So a lot of staff are out of the office today, but yeah, might have a few.
Good. G'day to Ilya from Lawbex. Was a great help to VACC. We'll just wait one more minute because I think the last minute we've had about 60 just go bang. So just trying to get them all in.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank God for the admit all button. G'day to Andrew Malloy from VACC. Welcome. Greg Agosta from the Used Car Traders Committee. Welcome. Frank Grockle. Well, there you go. Welcome, Frank. Nice to see you. Images just on this call for Vic Roads.
No, I'll talk to you later.
Okay, cheers, mate. There was just Matt Hobbs looking for you, Imogen. Okay, the hour's gone 12:30. So I'll leave it up to your discretion, John, if you want to start now, because it's a tight, short, sharp session. So if you want to say go ahead, I'll get Imogen to open it up.
Right. Yeah, let's kick off. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, John. A very warm welcome to everyone. My name's Imogen Garcia-Reid. I'm Lead Strategy and Policy here at VACC, and I'm facilitating today's session, our first Lunchbox session in a series of, I think it's 4, Mick, that will take place over the next, in 2-week increments. And I think from the attendance, we can see that there is a real appetite for these types of Lunchbox series. So we really look forward to hearing what you both have to say, Michael and John. The focus is, of course, on issues affecting LMCTs, on inspection and registration of vehicles. So we'll look forward to hearing your insights. I'd also really like to sincerely thank DTP, the Department of Transport and Planning, for engaging with VACC so regularly and for engaging today in a session for 45 minutes, which will hopefully provide some really great overview and answer some of your questions. Also to remind those on the line that DTP, or Department of Transport and Planning, is now separate for all intents and purposes from VIC Roads, is what we would normally refer to it. So for clarity, DTP is responsible now, and John and Michael, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more the policy, compliance and regulation, and VIC Roads under that auspice is related to the commercial dealings of anything to do with licensing and registration. So this is why we've kind of shifted, and our lingo now, I suppose, is DTP. It's not VIC Roads. So I think this is something that we're all trying to get our head around. For so long, we've dealt with VIC Roads.
As I say, it's not Department of Transport. I do apologise. You reckon I'd know better, but thank you.
Right. So DTP it is, but I won't make too fine a point about that. So just a little bit of housekeeping is that everyone is already on mute. We will take chat questions through the chat today. I know that we had deliberated about the raising hand function, but just due to the volume of people online, that makes it a little bit difficult. So please pop it in the chat. It will be monitored. Any questions that can't be dealt with today will be followed up on from our side and DTP, so don't feel as though you will miss out. So that's something to bear in mind. Also, this session is recorded, so if you are uncomfortable with that, you would probably just have to jump offline, or if you want to put in put yourself on mute and hidden, that's also another option. So questions, you can keep them coming throughout the discussion. Also, there will be time specifically dedicated at the end of both Michael and John's presentations. So without further ado, I will introduce our guest speakers. Michael Chan, who is the Dealer Scheme Manager at DTP, a great friend of VIC Roads, and the iconic, the revered John Burris, who is with, formerly VIC Roads, but now obviously well entrenched over into the DTP side, is Manager Insurance and Compliance for Third-Party Providers. So thank you both, John and Michael, for today's attendance, and I'll hand it over to you.
Okay.
Thanks, Imogen.
Yeah, thank you, Imogen and Mick. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to present to many LMCT, members and non-members alike. I guess, this sort of forum is always good to sort of share insights of what we find and from the department side. And thanks, Imogen, for highlighting the fact that a lot of the members of the public may not still recognise that there are two arms within the VIC Roads department portfolio now. Naturally, we still talk to them, and they're still our colleagues. We work closely with the VIC Roads personnel, but in all intents and purposes, legally, we're two separate organisations now. So now the dealer online scheme, the dealer certification, and the used car trader scheme, that's managed and administered by my team. So I'm the scheme manager for the dealer team, and John here basically is the manager for the compliance and risk and audit team that basically go out and audit a number of various different scheme and providers for Department of Transport now. Department of Transport and Planning. See, I'm the same as you, Mick. I still say DOT. So without any further delay, we shall get into the presentation. You can get it to work. Hang on a sec. Yeah, okay. So firstly, just like to acknowledgement of countries, just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we, myself and John, are meeting on today, which is Wurundjeri people. So I pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and extend that respect to all our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people here today. I think Imogen's covered most of this now. So essentially, I think we'll use that chat box to raise any questions due to the sheer number of volume of people. I think raising arms could be pretty hard to manage. So please type any questions in the chat box. Myself and John will try and endeavor to answer all the questions. If we can't, we'll take it on notice and we'll come back to the group and provide an answer shortly. Any feedback's welcome in relation to today's presentation, and we ask that, respect some others' viewpoint. That's all. So what we do and who we are, within my team, which is the really dealer support team, we administer the scheme, as I say. So any applications, any new LMCT that wishes to come on board our dealer online scheme, which is to register or transfer a vehicle, initially will get in contact with my team. So you have to put through an application. We'll assess the eligibility of a particular applicant. And then we'll basically determine whether they are suitable for the dealer certification scheme, largely to register new vehicles. And a lot of naturally dealers hold a used car arm as well. So a lot of times new vehicle dealers will have a used car agreement that's incorporated into the same agreement. And another agreement is really the used car trader scheme, which is to enable used car traders to transfer vehicles only. Used car traders are generally not allowed to register vehicle because our systems are unable to do that for now. So we've set up that scheme so that used car traders can transfer vehicles. Now hand over to John, and then he can explain a little bit about him and his team.
Thanks, Michael. I know it's already been mentioned, but John Boris, some of you may know me. We look after the compliance and audit activity for the dealer schemes that Michael's just run through, amongst some other registration and licensing programs. And we work, while we work independently as an audit team within DTP, we also work collaboratively with Michael as part of the overall scheme management framework. So that's what my team does. So the next few slides, I'll actually focus on what we do and what we're actually finding and what we're seeing. So with my team, and some of them are on the call today, you may, those dealers that are on the call today that are either under dealer certification or used car trader programs will have met either Banker, Anna, Carly or Shadley. They essentially run this activity. So it's compliance with the requirements under the agreement that you've signed with us, your regulatory obligations as a dealer on our scheme, and the various business rules and processes we've got in place under those programs as well. So that's what we build our compliance framework on, and we take a risk-based approach while we're doing that. So the areas of focus are, dealer and personnel details are current and correct, like any other business. I know there's a bit of turnover in the automotive industry, so we just want to make sure that we're dealing with the right entity and the right personnel when we're on site. The paperwork is complete and the data that you actually enter through your MyVic partner account is correct. The vehicles that you register are categorised properly in terms of the type of vehicle they are, the various fee codes associated with that, and the registered operator, which is pretty important to make sure we've got the right vehicle registered to the right person or the right entity for that matter. That transactions are actually processed, paperwork and fees are submitted in line with, whether they be regulatory timeframes or timeframes under the business rules of the program as well. And the last one, we will go into that one a bit more as well, that the personal information is accessed and handled properly and in line with the Victorian Protective Data Security Standards. And that link there will actually take you to those. It's actually a pretty handy website to have a look at. There's a couple of documents on there. There's the data security framework and the standards that sit underneath that. And as a third-party provider to the department, there's an expectation and an obligation, in fact, for all of us to handle data according to those security standards. So pretty handy website if you haven't visited it already. Thanks, Michael. Okay, so we run our compliance programs based on an annual basis, and it's structured under a financial year. So we've just wrapped up the 23-24 financial year in terms of our activity, and here's what we found most often. The first one, forms not being filled out completely. And that includes, the authority to register forms when you're registering a new vehicle, or the registration and transactional forms for transfers as well. So there's either missing or incorrect information on those forms. The second one is paperwork not being submitted within the required timeframes, and that includes documents that are going in those yellow envelopes that we provide our dealer network. So those forms can actually go in and be imaged and be able to be looked up should we actually need to access those. There's incorrect data being entered for online new vehicle registrations. We do get some exception reporting around that. So we do go and tidy up the data when we identify that, and it includes things like incorrect make of vehicles and various other pieces of data. The second last one, again, there relates to information security, and that's when a client record has been accessed in MyVicRoads partner account. So we've looked up a customer, but then there hasn't been a subsequent transaction after that. So there hasn't been a rego or a transfer process after a customer's record has been accessed. And the last one there is, and I'll go into a bit more detail in this in a moment, but information security incident management. If an incident were to occur, how that would actually be handled. And under the agreement with us, there is an obligation to, for one thing, to actually advise the department that there has been an information security incident. In terms of our used car trader schemes, some of the findings are not dissimilar, so the first one is transfer transactions processed outside the required timeframe, so that 14-day requirement. Again, client records being accessed without a subsequent transfer being processed, and again, what a business has in place in terms of handling data breaches around information security. So when we look across both schemes, I mentioned that information security features pretty prominently, and I don't think you need me to tell you that it's a concern across the community generally. It's not exclusive to automotive, and it was interesting. I just read an article the other day online about, given and you don't need me to tell you this, given the amount of personal information that businesses hold, including automotive businesses, it's a target area for hackers and people looking for data. So we're currently raising our information security related findings as business improvement opportunities. So we won't raise them as corrective actions as such, but it's purely recommendations to put things in place to keep not only what you're doing for us safe, but information generally for your business safe. So we're hoping we're adding value in that respect, and referring you to places where you can get more information around that. So that when we look at information security generally, the areas that we're finding that are potential for uplift are things like providing information security awareness and training for dealer staff. And Mick, I believe VACC does that to an extent anyway. I think that's part of the support provided to members, unless I'm mistaken. Acceptable use procedures for dealer IT devices. All these items, we've actually got requirements as DTP staff as well. So I'm sure a lot of the businesses out there have that in place already. The physical security of your business. So things like where VicRoads documents, so where you keep your business documentation. We've got it here in our office, a clear desk and screen policy and procedures around that. And also third-party information security. So when you engage, whether it be an IT company to provide you with dealer software or dealer or IT support generally, just to have a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality deed in place with that organisation as well. So those are the sorts of areas that we've been finding most commonly are missing in terms of general information security. Not only requirements under the VPDSS, but again, just keeping your business secure or as secure as possible in the current environment across the industry generally.
Yeah, 100%. And we've found that working with John recently that there are a number of gaps in terms of certain dealerships where they're not conveying the message to their dealer staff, and I think that's important. My understanding is that some of them have engaged VACC to come out to provide some training for their own staff, and here at the department, it's drummed into us and it's very strict. So we have to do an annual refresher course to protect the privacy information and personal information of that we handle and of the public. So one of the things that I think as a whole in the automotive industry or in dealerships, it's something that we'd like to raise that awareness so that not just at the high level dealer principal level, but at the staff level, everyone's aware that, hey, even at the sales level where they're taking personal information when they sell the vehicle, that, hey, you're handling critical information that if you're not careful, it can be leaked and cause issues.
Yeah, and it's something that we're going to continue to work on in the current year. Information security is something that is going to still feature prominently moving into the 24-25 year. And my team are going to be out there on the road visiting the dealer network within the next couple of weeks. So this will continue to feature prominently, and whether it be through the bulletins that Michael sends out, the support that my team provide while they're out on site. If you've heard of any really effective ways of getting this messaging out, we're happy to hear it too. So, and we're happy to contribute to support that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned before in terms of how we categorise our findings. So these are terms that you would see in the reports that you get back from my team. The first one is corrective actions. So they're the most common findings that we see, and there's an expectation that a reply would be sent back to Michael's team outlining the actions that have been taken to resolve the issue that we've found.
Yep.
So we found this gap. So we were forgetting to sign the authority to register form. We've briefed all our staff on it. Job done. They're now doing it. Urgent issues are those items where we don't actually want to wait until the report's been issued, and we will raise that immediately. We will refer that back to Michael's team, and you'll actually hear from Michael's team pretty soon after the fact or after the event.
Correct.
To actually work through and resolve that one.
Yes, correct. Examples of those are either dealer principal has left the organization or an agreement is no longer in place due to various reasons. We want to get on top of that and get that fixed up, remedied immediately. Another one that commonly comes up for urgent issues is accessing client details or your own details without a subsequent transaction. That again, it's an urgent issue that will be raised with us, and my team will generally get in contact with the dealer straight away, because again we take the protection of information very highly. So we would like that to be followed, the rules around not being able to access client details or your details without any subsequent transaction.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, and the last category is business improvement opportunities. We spoke a bit about those before. A lot of those information security findings are fed back as business improvement opportunities. Again, to get uplift around information security and handling private information generally.
That's right. So just on that, just like to highlight the fact that generally once John's team finishes the audit, they will provide a report to the dealership, and that copy of that report of any corrective actions will be provided to us as well. So there will be a due date that's set in the report for dealers to address those issues, and we do follow that up. So my team will follow that up with the dealers. And dealers do have to respond. I have to make that point that, hey, we expect that dealers respond and try and remedy the problem that's been picked up by John's team, whether it's urgent issue or corrective actions, because if they don't respond and continue to ignore our contact, they eventually will suspend and lock their account. So it is important for dealers to take this process seriously. If there are corrective actions or urgent issues that's been raised as a result of an audit, let's try and work together to resolve that. And hopefully we can put in a process in place so in your dealership so that it doesn't occur again.
Yeah. That's right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned a bit before about what we're doing for 24-25. Probably from next week, we're going to be back out on the road, and we plan to visit around 500 sites around the state. We're actually going to start with a few regional trips as well. So it might obviously it's not just the metro area, we do like getting out into the regions. And for those sites that we can't get to, we're planning on doing around 200 virtually. It was a process that was put in place pretty quickly during the pandemic, and we've carried it forward when we can't physically get out on site. And like I said, we take a risk-based approach. We're going to continue focusing on those areas where we do see the greatest risks, and we do have the largest number of findings. And like we've already mentioned it a couple of times, information security, as well as compliance with processes and regulatory requirements will continue to be an area of focus for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. So my team and John's team are collaborating at the moment. So we're basically working on the forward plan for this next financial year, 24-25.
Yeah.
And try and address any risk area or any gaps that we see. Naturally, information protection is a big area now. It's a big focus area for us. As well as other, tricky areas such as, what's that called, higher drive sales model and a few other areas where we would like to sort of have a look and to ensure that everyone's compliant with the requirement and dealerships are registering those vehicles in a correct rate code and paying, the correct stamp duty and roadworthy if that applies.
That's right.
Yeah. So you some of the dealers might have seen some my team coming out together with John's team this year, because we've sort of had a focus on dealers who operate out of home. I think that's been an increase in numbers due to COVID. So we've sort of taken that opportunity this year to visit more of those dealerships to ensure that, hey, everything's okay. And information protection, once again, in the home environment is protected and is okay.
Yeah.
And imagine, next year we'll continue to do that as well.
Yeah, we visited around 40 dealers who are home-based in the 23-24 year, and we will continue to visit some in the new year.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's go quick on. Okay, one of the key things is, I guess, from my team is we're seeing some repeated occurrence of corrective actions with certain dealerships. And just want to take the opportunity to highlight some of these. Obviously, we'd like processes to be put in place so that, corrective actions doesn't keep occurring over and over again when John's team comes out. particularly if it's a important or how do you say more severe corrective action, such as accessing their own details or accessing client details. We'd like to try and stop that. So one of the key themes that always comes up is really dealer staff accessing the partner portal and look up their own details or a client's details without a subsequent transactions. Now, we have a system put in place that will automatically highlight that and pick that up. So it's not individual staff that's monitoring it. It's a system that's put in place. So it will come up if you do that. Now, from time to time, dealers have sort of punched in the wrong number or the wrong details and looked up the wrong customer ID, and that's okay. If that sort of occurs, then I would ask that dealership sort of personnel jot it down in their diary or in their notebook to say, hey, I looked up this detail which is wrong because I punched in one number wrong, for example. And that's okay, because eventually when my staff reach out to your dealership, you can sort of be accountable and tell us what's happened, what's wrong with that. But we'd like to really try and stop, repeat occurrence of corrective actions where possible. And because that sort of shows that there's structurally something wrong in the process, basically, of a particular dealership. And we would like to address that. So my team's approach has always been trying to work with dealers. And if you require more additional training, reach out. And I'm happy to send my team up. So I have a team of 7 personnel, which we carved up a certain dealership within a portfolio. And my staff will look after that particular portfolio. So many of you might know your rep quite well. Again, if you need training or anything, please reach out to one of my staff, and I'm quite happy, or reach out to me, it's fine too. We're quite happy to come out to retrain staff members and get you guys on the right path, basically.
Michael, can I just jump in just for a quick second? I'm sorry that I'm breaking the degree protocols here, but first of all, this also applies, and I know we're doing a session in about 4 weeks' time for licensed vehicle testers under the scheme as well, for LMCT's franchise dealers who are act as LVTs and used car dealers, I suppose, as well. That sort of corrective action is going to apply there too, because I think it's important to put that out there for the context of who I see on this meeting, because I've found from my desk, it seems to be from that angle that some of the franchise dealers are running into issues. And I've had great dealings with Sash and Jody and the guys with regards to it, but we just need to make sure that the guys in the workshop are playing balls well, and the message filters down to them as well, I suppose. But there'll be further insights into that in about 2 to 4 weeks' time, I think, when we do the licensed vehicle tester thing in the service departments of franchise dealers. That's more of a statement than a question. So, and Eliza, I'm not sure who Eliza is, but she's asked a really good question, and I know we were going to speak to him soon. She's asked, if it's in the question box, about a statement you made, does this only flag once going to the second screen for registrations, or are we able to put in client ABN numbers, for example, to check that they have a client ID with Big Roads?
It's a second screen for registration, or are we able to put client ABN numbers, for example? Sorry, I'm just reading the question here.
Yeah.
Check that.
And I agree, Isabella, it is a good question. Because
yeah. So, sorry.
The ACN, yeah.
Well, generally, if you're looking up a particular vehicle that is already registered, then you can use the VRO tool, the vehicle. What's that?
Verify registered operator.
Yeah, verify registered operator. That's the tool that you use to look up the vehicle, whether it's currently registered under a particular name. So if you use that tool, it doesn't create any issues for you, basically. Right now, where it sort of creates an issue is if you click on the transaction, such as transfer a vehicle or register a vehicle, and then you punch in the client ID, right, which is generally your license number. You call up those details without subsequent transactions. So basically, you're not transferring or you're not registering the vehicle subsequently, and that will generate what we call an exception report. Say, hey, this particular user in the portal has looked up these details, yet there's no subsequent transactions. And those are the cases that my team will come out and reach out to the dealer to say, hey, we've got an issue here where, you've looked up a particular individual's license number, yet there's no subsequent transaction.
Yeah, the other point I think is it is a really good question.
Yeah.
If you do go in and find that there is no client ID, so if you try and search an ACN that doesn't exist, it won't throw an exception. But the situation, I understand why you want to check that it does exist, but it won't throw an exception if the client ID doesn't exist, and then the new vehicle franchises on the call will know that then you've got to send the information off to get a client ID confirmed or created. So
Correct.
yeah, just to make that distinction.
All right, thanks for that. I just want to get it. So Benk has put in a pretty good response here as well for people to note. I'll go back to you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. And there's a question here by Stephen. Are there any plans to potentially increase the amount of manufacturers we are able to register? Generally, that goes back to what brand you're allowed to, or you've been given rights to sell the vehicle. So we only provide dealerships with the make in relation to what they have in place. So a franchise that they have in place. And there's no limit to that. So if you're basically authorized to sell a particular vehicle, then you will have that make.
No, I'm not actually entirely clear on the context of that question.
Yeah.
I know there's a pretty comprehensive list of makes in partner account, but we can get makes added. As new makes come into the market, if that's what Stephen means.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah. So as new brands comes on,
Chinese brands coming in.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard there's another 10 potentially coming in the next year or so. So, yeah.
Correct.
So are we into the question stage, or is the presentation finished? I just wanted to see if we can.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's essentially the formal part of it.
Yeah, beautiful.
Great. Yeah. Sorry, forgot the last slide.
That's okay. Look, if we just jump to the questions ordered in advance, tabled in advance, that'd be really useful. And I think there was two themes that came out of those questions that we provided. One was, when will independent used car traders be able to join the system? And a dotted line to that, when will franchise dealers be able to register used cars online? And the next question is the issue with regards to the registration issues we're having with electric vehicles, and particularly as it affects the calculation of motor vehicle duty.
Yeah. Two difficult questions, Mick. Essentially, in relation to the registration of used car online, there are some technological limitations at this point in time, because I think to how our understanding is that we need a connection with NAFDIS that can facilitate that to occur. And at this point, NAFDIS, which is the National Registration Database Administrator, is working on creating a web-based API that will allow states to tap in. Now, that has generally been in the past, previously been the limitations before we can sort of work on our system to integrate with them. And at this point in time, it is my understanding, or I've been told that, hey, NAFDIS is working on it, and it should be coming on board probably in the third quarter or fourth quarter of next year. So once we have that system put in place by NAFDIS, we would have to upgrade our own system internally to tap into that and build it into our partner portal. At this point in time, that technological limitations is preventing us from doing that. So some dealers who carry plates will be aware that all the used car registrations are done manually at this point. So that gets mailed in, and then someone within our back office will use our system to register the vehicle on their behalf, largely because the partner portal can't handle that at the moment. So that's that for the used car registration online. And with the ZLEV or electric vehicles, it's much in the same category. The stamp duty calculator is wrong at the moment in the partner portal. We've pushed for it to be updated. The difficulty, I guess, is that the system belongs to Vic Roads, which we'll have to work with them to come up with a solution. And they generally try and prioritize, I guess, any upgrades or work in line with their priorities. And this is one that we're aware of. We continue to push for it. But unfortunately, I haven't got any timeline that's a committed timeline from Vic Roads to amend that system. Now, we have a workaround that we've introduced to many dealers now. So you can get ZLEV online by using a workaround process that we've created about 2 years ago now. So if any dealerships would like to participate in that process, just reach out to me or my team, and we can sort of train you on how to do that. So you can get ZLEV online, but it's a workaround way because the partner portal still can't handle it. But we'll figure out a workaround way to try and get those vehicles online. But there is some element of offline processing.
Yeah, look, and it's important that particularly the VACC members on this call know that this is conversations that we've been having with Vic Roads and the department for at least 2 years now, and we can go as hard as we possibly want at the department, but it's not going to change the fact that there's a bit of investment that's required in this, and it's going to be a bit of a process for us all. So we've got it on the boil, and we're just hoping to get to a situation. Sorry, I just want to go. There's a question there from Werribee Hyundai that I wanted to get to, if that's okay, which I think is an important one. Is there a time frame searching the client ID to when you register and transfer? Example, search on Monday but register the car on Wednesday.
Well, generally with that, you still throw out an exception report, is how I understand it, John, but we'd pick it up from our end.
We'd pick it up. Yeah, we'd pick that up. So if you search for a client ID and then transacted it on on the Monday and then did it on the Wednesday, we wouldn't be asking questions about that.
Correct.
Yeah, because we know they're a client. We know you've registered a vehicle for that customer. There's no exception there as far as we're concerned. If you're right.
Correct. That's right. So the system will still pick it up, but
the system will report it out.
Correct.
We'll look at it and say, oh, well, hang on.
There is a subsequent transaction.
Werribee Hyundai did register a vehicle for that customer. Nothing to see here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
A question from Linda for Inverloch Marine. What about vessels? Any plans to allow registrations online?
Yeah. That's also
Take on the notice.
Yeah, that's one I have to take on notice.
Short answer is not in the short term.
Not in the short term.
Yeah.
But Linda, if you're listening on the call, I'll come back to you on that, and we might discuss some of the issues that you're facing there and see how we can address it with the department. How are we going for time here? We've got 5 minutes left, so I suppose, do we want to, with the rest of the questions, I'll chart them all and come back to everybody, if that's okay, for the purposes of meeting the timelines of the meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah. Happy with that. Yeah, that's okay. That's done.
Oh, and just one more that Mirella's just put through: is acceptable to search client ID to verify Vic Roads address matches their license for the purpose of registering, completing manual registration forms for second-hand vehicles. Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay, because there will be subsequent transactions in which we'll again pick it up from our end.
Yeah. Cool.
It might take a little while because manual transactions do usually take a little while. But having said that, if the dealership sort of is prompt in sending the paperwork to our back office, they typically will turn it around within 5 days. Is the or less is the workaround time that they work on. So we'll pick it up on our end to know that, hey, you've looked up this client ID, but there is a subsequent transactions that's done manually.
Right. Well, there's quite a few questions there, and I'm really rapt to see the engagement. So what I'll do is I'll tabulate all these and get them to you guys. For Wayne and Ben and Claire and Kayla, Dimitri. Sorry, I haven't scrolled up any further than that. We'll endeavour to come back to you very shortly on those questions. I'll throw over now to Dr. Reid for any parting comments or finishing comments or views. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Mick. Really, my role is today is to top and tail. So, and I'm certainly not an expert in this, which today's session has highlighted to me. Hopefully, a lot of you have really valued today's session, and I really want to extend a most sincere thank you to Michael and to John for today's insights. And we also I just really want to drive home the really positive engagement that we enjoy between DTP and VACC, and for making yourself so accessible on a regular basis to work through ongoing issues between members and the department. As mentioned earlier, these sessions are running fortnightly for the next there are another 3 more. I was trying to do the math in my head for how many more weeks, but that's not going to happen. 31st of July, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the next session in 2 weeks on Wednesday. We've
Doc,
made a note.
can I chime in there on that one? That's a really important one for everybody as well. It talks about the dealer scheme and guides and just almost troubleshooting scenarios for all you guys. So I think that's, again, I think everything's important, but that's a pretty important one. So sorry.
Well said, Mick. And I would if there are any questions in advance, once you register, there's the opportunity for those to be registered as well. So on that note, I'm going to bring the session to a slightly early close. I would like to note, and I'm very impressed, thank you, Michael and John, that you have included North Melbourne Station on your final slide for questions, which is a really nice touch. This is where VACC obviously is headquartered. So thank you everyone for joining in. We hope that you've got some value out of it. We look forward to connecting again in 2 weeks' time. Look out for that, for the flyer on that. But yes, just thank you very much to Michael and to John, and also to Faye, I can see who was online, and your team for all that you do to work collaboratively with us. So a very good afternoon.
Thanks, Faye.
Yeah, and a very good afternoon, and